So where we start at, yo? Where we start at?
You already recording?
We've been recording.
Oh,
so y'all comfortable now.
Y'all comfortable now.
Been recording.
He ambushed me, right?
Let me see, yo. All right, we'll start with the boxing career.
All right,
that's outside of, you know what I mean, the usual realm that people are used to or whatever, right? So let's start there. Just
right.
What, you know, how it started or whatever, the, you know, stuff going on in between, whatever stuff went down, whatever happened, you know what I mean, whatever.
There's a lot of in between. Right, so,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
So me talking about me boxing sometimes gets, it like takes me somewhere else sometimes. Like, sometimes I'll be battling emotion, anger, hurt, disappointment, and in a sense, at the same time, satisfaction. And I know that might sound crazy to some people, or some people might not understand that, but all of that is just intertwined when I talk about boxing. So I started boxing in June of 1996, and I took to it like that. It was like a baby to its mother's breast, right? After about 6-7 weeks, I was just moving. Where people started asking me like, "Yo, dude, how many fights you had?" And I'm like, "Fights? Like, I ain't even been in the ring yet."
Yeah.
You tell me how many fights? I ain't had no fights, but I just took to it. You know, it ain't nothing to do with street fighting or nothing like that. It was just that I always had a passion for boxing. I just didn't really care to do it when I was younger. I played football, and I ran the streets. You know what I'm saying? I didn't care to box, and yeah, man, I just took to it. You know what I'm saying? And the first time I sparred was probably 6 months after I started.
Okay.
So I hadn't gotten in the ring for months. So by the time I got in the ring, it was I was ready. Mentally, I was kind of nervous. Like I was scared. I'll be honest, I was scared, right? And because you don't know what to expect, right? You're going into the ring and you got this guy over here that's intending on knocking you out, and the only thing you can do is knock him out to keep him from knocking you out, or attempt to do that. So, yeah, man, you know, I went in there and truth be told, I dusted this dude off. He was a pro fighter. He had like 6 fights, dusted him off, no problem. And we sparred again, and the same thing. And from that point on, I only boxed pro fighters for a real long time. Yeah. My trainer put me in with pro fighters, and I think the first time I went to fight was probably 2 months after that. And right around time for the training for that fight, I had sprained my right wrist, and I didn't think I was going to make the fight, but my trainer just taped me up real good, and we were going to fight. And that was in January of '97 or February of '97, something like that. And yeah, man, when my trainer had a reputation around Philly and around the East Coast. When my trainer was fighting, he was like the most feared lightweight around. And the older trainers, they remembered him, they know him because they came up together.
Okay, let me ask this question quickly. The whole Rocky theme, boxing theme, and then relative to Philly, and it being sort of like a cultural.
You mean boxing in Philly?
Boxing, yeah. Because even with the Rocky thing, it was big news. You know what I mean?
Boxing in Philly is like boxing in Philly. I'm trying to think of another city with a sport like the Yankees to New York. That's how boxing is for Philly.
Okay.
right? And we used to have an arena there called the Blue Horizon. And throughout the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the early 90s, almost all your world champions came through there. Like if you didn't fight at the Blue, then you ain't fighting.
For real.
Right? And I think at one point it was like, this was in the past 10 years, it was like 34 boxing gyms in Philly. Right? Just scattered all around. You know what I'm saying? And that don't go to say that everybody got them kind of skills and going, you know, but it's just there.
Right.
Like you see young children just, you know, on their way to the gym, they got their gloves across their shoulder and they just strolling through. So when you see Rocky, when you see a movie like Rocky, and you see like the last one that just came out, Creed, for instance, right? Yeah. And you see that gym that they was training in, and you see guys just hitting the mitts, and you see guys on the bag. Yeah, that's the way it is.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. Like now, in some gyms in Philly, man, you know, it's like, I don't know if some people may have heard of it. I don't know if you have, but they call them Philly Gym Wars, right? And that's literally what they be. Like these guys be in the gym and they spar like they getting paid.
Yeah.
Right. So some fighters in Philly never make it out the gym because they get the shit kicked out of them in the gym, so they never make it.
They never make it.
So when you see Rocky and you see Rocky getting beat up, some guys end up that way. You know what I'm saying? And then some guys they excel and succeed, but for the most part, yeah. Boxing in Philly is like the Yankees to New York.
Okay.
Yeah. So that whole Rocky thing, with Rocky, how the city stood behind him. Yeah. You don't really get that. Yeah. And that's unfortunate. Even though Philly's a boxing town, you don't get the people to really stand behind a fighter like they stood behind Rocky. Even though that's a fictional character, but it's still a staple. Right. So you see that they got a Rocky statue. Yeah. And you get millions of people every year come to see the Rocky statue. Right? They just put a statue of Joe Frazier up less than 6 months ago. Yeah. Joe Frazier was heavyweight champ in 1970. Rocky statue been up since 1983.
Yeah. So right. Yeah, sorry to throw you off. So we were talking about fighting the pro fighters. Your trainer, and then you fight the pro fighters, and
that's
you having the match where you dusted the dude.
I don't want people to think that I'm arrogant or cocky or nothing like that, but it is what it is. I was dusting them dudes off. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And when I went to go fight my first amateur fight, it was kind of like excitement and scared as hell at the same time because you don't know what to expect. But you train and you train and you train. It don't matter whether it's boxing, whether it's football, basketball, or even like yourself. If you got some tight tracks and you can't wait to lay them down, and then something just happens and you can't lay them down. What ended up happening through my first 3 tournaments in the amateurs is I got walkovers. What that means is that, like, they say, all right, SetenRa, you're going to fight Cujo. And then Cujo's trainer realizes that my trainer is who he is, and say, Cujo, we're not going to let you fight this guy. because of my trainer. Not that they knew nothing about me.
The trainer.
Because of him. Right. Because of his reputation and because of who he was when he was fighting. Right. They would, and that's 3 tournaments. I should have easily had, over them 3 tournaments, I should have easily had maybe 15 fights, 10, 15 fights.
And waived. Yeah. Just because of
him, but not because of me. It's not like it's not like
the great fighter. And,
it's not like they was like, yo, this guy right here is a monster.
Yeah.
No, it's because of him, and that's it's funny because like damn, like y'all scared of this guy, you know what I'm saying? But it's disappointing too because you've been training.
Right.
So you want to get up. You want to whoop somebody's ass. You want to go to court
and stand on the square.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So. It's just like nationality. Like you said, you studying and you studying and you studying. At some point, you gotta
work this.
You gotta see if it works.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I didn't get that opportunity early on. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. I had a lot of things happen. During the time that I was boxing, man. I got injured in late '99, early 2000. And that prevented me from fighting in the U.S. championships, which would have sent me to the Olympic trials in 2000. And the next year, I ended up needing surgery on my left shoulder. I had something called impingement syndrome. And the sad part about it was they told me, and me being naive and not doing more research and not just listening to the doctor and listening to my trainer, they didn't know exactly what was wrong inside my shoulder. So the doctor said, the only thing we can do is go inside and take a look. And you'll either be out for 3 months or 6 months. And it ended up being 6 months. And during the course of therapy, the therapist had me doing one specific exercise. Yeah. And I kept telling her this one exercise hurts. And she said, no, you know, it's just the muscles in your shoulder, you know, it's tight, it's getting stronger. We popped the stitching inside the shoulder.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Doing
that one exercise. Yeah. It was on an apparatus called the Total Gym. And, you know, after that, you know, after therapy, she said, you're cool, you can go back. So we went back, you know. We fought in the Golden Gloves, man. We won in the Golden Gloves. And after that Golden Gloves, my shoulder started hurting again. So another trainer asked me about fighting another tournament called the Diamond Belt. I said, all right, cool. But in reality, my shoulder was killing me.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't tell my trainer and I didn't tell nobody else. Because I'm like, can't be going through this again, the same pain. So I got a cortisone shot. Right? And the cortisone shot hurt worse than the shoulder in the first place. So we didn't fight, and we ended up getting surgery again. And this time I was out almost a year. Right? So, you know, just moving along and moving along and moving along. Once that shoulder healed, then, you know, we getting ready for pros. Yeah. And I had a promoter come to me, a guy named Greg Robinson. And he asked me if I wanted to fight on his cards. So, all right, cool, we're going to fight on the cards. And this guy started standing us up, man. He stood us up on 4 cards. Right? For whatever reason, he just wasn't coming through. You know, this excuse, that excuse, and it got to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready to move on. Because it had so many roadblocks, so many things that then happened to prevent me from moving on, that it started to be an emotional toll. Yeah. Like, all right, I had enough. You know what I'm saying? But through the course of me training and all of that stuff, man, you know, the different things that I learned from training, the biggest thing that I learned was discipline and patience. Yeah. The discipline that you got to have as a fighter is really second to none. I can't really speak for other athletes, basketball, football, swimming, but the discipline that you got to have, you know, no, you can't be running around, you can't be having sex, you know what I'm saying, because you need these. Yeah. But at the same time, you got to watch your diet, you got to watch everything that you eat, and you just got to watch everything that you're doing. So the discipline is crazy, man, and that same discipline that I learned from boxing, I carried over to my life now, with dealing with nationality, right? Because if you're not disciplined and you're not willing to study, and you're not willing to put in the time and the effort you need to know the things that you say you want to know, or be in the place that you want to be, you might as well just chalk it up. Yeah. Like, you know, we get a lot of people saying, yeah, you know, just a little while ago, using the car with me, this guy want to get his paperwork and everything squared away. So once you get it squared away, then what? Right. Well, you're going to open up some books, or you're going to call me, or you're going to call Cujo and say, can you help me do this? Right. So, you know, that discipline is the biggest thing that I carried from boxing to this world.
Now, because you talked about the discipline and patience. Mm-hmm. Is having these gyms with young people, you know, with the boxing glove, whatever like that, having an impact in Philly with regard to changing anything going on? Like, you know, people say, my son's whatever, send him to boot camp or whatever. Would it be good to implement some of these things on, or give more attention to the boxing arena as an area for young people to be disciplined and learn patience and, you know, how to deal with authority and things like that, opposed to all these other stuff that people try?
I gotta say yeah and no. I say yeah because they can learn discipline, they will learn discipline, and they will learn patience. My only concern with the youth is them actually boxing, because the problem is in Philly is they'll just let them go, and they let those children hurt each other, and you don't want to get a child messed up here so young.
Yeah.
Now, if it was a situation like you say, like they get in trouble in school and to keep them from going to jail, they say, "Oh, well, we're gonna send them over to this gym." If they just training and they just learning, then I'm all for that.
Yeah, like minus the necessarily the boxing part. Like not really the boxing part, as in going in the ring with other fighters, but because everything outside the ring, basically.
Yeah. So if it was a program where like they say, "All right, SetenRa, we want you to head up this program, and this is how we're going to work with some of these youth," then I would definitely take them running. I would definitely have them doing everything they need to do in the gym, teaching them what they need to learn, right? The exercise, the diet, the whole nine. But putting them in the ring, sometimes one child might have a little more skill than the other, right? And you know, even as little boys, we got egos, and we might try to, you might be a little faster than me, you might shine on me and bust my nose, and then situations like that, I've seen children actually get discouraged, depressed, and then they just want to put their gloves on, and they don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. So it can be if you let them box, it can be a twofold situation where they can learn the discipline, and also another thing that they'll learn is respect, because that's missing from a lot of this youth is respect. So where you said, learning to respect authority, they won't have a choice. Some of them actually like it, and you know how it is when you're a child or you're a young boy, excuse me, and you like something, you don't want nobody to take it away from you. So if somebody takes it away from you, then you're willing to do whatever you need to do to get back on that track to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing.
Right. For dialogue, what entails Golden Gloves and being in those particular fights or whatever? Really, anybody
can go in the Golden Gloves. The Golden Gloves is just a tournament. It's just the most celebrated tournament in boxing outside of the Olympic Games. You fight in the Golden Gloves, then that's where it is. You know what I'm saying? And really, all you got to do is just register and show up. It's open to everybody. If you got 0 fights or if you got 100 fights, you can show up and fight in the Golden Gloves. Now, like I said earlier, before they closed the Blue Horizon, that's where the Golden Gloves was all the time.
What happened to that? Yeah.
Right. So the lady who had it, she just ran it in the shambles. But yeah, before that, so it was like a win-win. You fighting in the Golden Gloves and you fighting in the blue.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like a win-win situation. But if you wasn't ready, that wasn't the ring you wanted to be in, because it was small. Yeah. Yeah. So you ain't had no choice. It was fight time.
You have to deal with the case.
It's like being in front of the magistrate and ain't nobody in there but you and him.
Yeah.
And the punk ass bailiff. You know what I'm saying? Bailiff being a referee. Yeah. So it's fight time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So outside of the Olympic Games, the Golden Gloves is where you want to be at.
Right. The transition from, quote unquote, running the streets or whatever, to consciousness, to more science. 'Cause I know more have stories on that road, right there. The road getting into knowing that you're more, knowing you have nationality, knowing about, Noble Drew Ali even. There's always something with Moors that is a repetitive type of theme. There's always something. So just wanna.
So I ran the streets, man, from a youth. Probably from I really started hanging out in the streets, hanging out when I was like 13. And man, I did the typical stuff that guys do. You know what I'm saying? Really no need to indulge, but typical stuff that guys do. And as I got older, I kind of settled down a little bit. I was a victim of paternity fraud when I was 19, and that kept me kind of stable until I was about 25. And then yeah, once I was out of that situation, I just kept ripping and running and ripping and running and ripping and running. So I was all over the place, just back into living how I was when I was a teenager. And it came a point where I started getting information. I was always a history junkie. Like in school, history was always my favorite subject. So even throughout the course of all them years, I was still reading and reading and reading and reading. You know, I'm always had some books, always getting some information. So somewhere around, I want to say somewhere around 2006, me and my cousin were just coming into Kemetic studies, and he asked me if I ever heard of somebody called Dr. Ray Higgins, and I'm like, nah, never heard of Ray Higgins. So we watched a video called The Verdict Is In, where he showed practically a hell of a portion of the Bible was taken from the walls in Kemet, like it's all scribed in the walls. And when you somebody who's a history junkie and somebody who's an information junkie, and you see something like that, and then it can't be refuted. and then I was given Tony Browder's book, Nal Valley, Contributions to Civilization. When I read that book was like, that book, it was a paradigm shift at that point, and it wasn't no going back, right? So this was still 3 years before I know anything about Moorish science, right? So I'm like, this is crazy, man. Like, look at all this stuff. So we just going and grabbing more and more stuff, man. We going down to Black and Nobel in Philly, sitting in on this lecture, sitting in on that one, and we just grabbing all this information, right? So somewhere around 2009, we were at a club one night, and it was about 2:30. We was outside in the parking lot. Me and him and 3 other guys. The 2 other guys were from another club, trying to get people to come to their spot. The other guy had a food truck. Man, we sat there from that 2:30 till 5 o'clock that morning. Like the sun came up, and we just building on all this information that we got. We just going and going. So the brother that was in the food truck said, y'all should link up with me so I can introduce y'all to my neighbor. He said, my neighbor's name is Tariq Bey. And I'm like,
whatever, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Info,
yeah, right? I'm like, all right, whatever. So we got his number, but we never connected again. But the name stayed in your ear, right? Now, and it's not that you're thinking about it every day, but you heard it, and you can't unhear it, but you heard it. So we running around Black and Nobel, and boom, what do I see? DVD of Tariq Bey. So I'm like, all right, so I grab it, and we go home and watch it. Now, at the time, I didn't know Taj was in Philly. I had no clue Taj was in Philly. At the time, I've heard of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but I didn't know about Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So we watched the DVD, and then we realized this DVD was done at Black and Nobel. Yeah. So then I went back to Black and Nobel, and they was like, yeah, Taj is here every 3rd Saturday of the month. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I missed that class at Nobel. So the next one was at 10th and Oxford. So I went there, and at my very first class on nationality, it was Tariq Bey, Abdullah Iltali Mosi Bey, Ms. Raim Aleph Il, and Rosman Rai Bey. So that was like, that was it. Yeah. Like I'm sitting here with all I need. Yeah. Right. So the first class that I actually sat in was Tariq Bey breaking down black and what black means, why we're not black, talking about nationality, and then Abdullah was actually breaking down the distortion of the word nigger. And yeah, man, after that, it was like putting a needle in my vein. I was hooked. You know what I'm saying? And ironically, man, I tell people all the time, I don't know if they believe me or not, but I'll say it now, I say it all the time. After that class, it didn't take much for me not to call myself black anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because I clearly understood where Taj was going and what he meant by the word black, us being black, and the whole nine. So, you know, that was it. That was my introduction to Moorish science. That was the beginning of my love affair with Moorish science.
As far as when people say, what's the benefit of being a Moor? Like, what? I'm not a Moor. What's the benefit? What do I get if I say I'm a Moor today? Because I just saw yesterday that they shot a Moor or whatever, so, you know.
So people who say stuff like that, the first thing is that you know that they have no awareness of who they are or what they are. They more than likely are still stuck on being black because we love that, right? Some of them still African American, some of them not too many Negroes, not too many colored folks. But when people say, what's the benefits of being a Moor? My question to them is, what's the benefits of being black? Because all you got to do is look back over the past 50 years. There's been no benefit. You got the Black Power movement, you got the Civil Rights movement, you got all of this stuff. There's been no benefit, right? You have no clue even who you are, right? When I say that I am fully aware that I am the Aboriginal indigenous person of this land, North America, Central America, South America, the adjoining islands, that's a hell of a benefit because that traces me to a continent. That traces me to a landmass. That traces me to a nationality. When I say that I'm black, that traces me to nothing. John Henry Clark said, where's black? They always coming down on us, saying, y'all said, go back and do your research. John Henry Clark said it. You ain't black. That ties you to no culture. That ties you to no language, no nationality, right? But the benefits that people are concerned with is not paying a mortgage, not paying tickets, not paying utilities, and all of these things, the necessary things that some of us have to do to survive. Those are the benefits they're looking for. So when you say, what benefit is it to being a Moor? I guess that's what they want you to say. You know, all right, so the benefits are you don't have to pay tickets. Well, how about not getting no tickets?
Right.
Try that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, what other benefits do you have? How about self-awareness? How about self-awareness? How about really knowing who you are? Mm-hmm. How about being able to accept who you are? People say, oh, well, you know, I went to, what's that shit called? Something.com, where people, Ancestry.com, something like that. Yeah. And then they tell you that you have German, you 8% German, you 6% Irish. When you start to learn more science and you start to learn that everything comes from the mother, when you finally are aware of that and you fully understand that everything comes from the mother, so whatever your mother is, you are. Because only mother can give birth. Just like the universe, just like the earth, they call Mother Earth. The elements, they call Mother Nature. Those are the benefits of not, I can't say becoming a Moor because you are more, just becoming aware of being Moorish American. Those are the benefits. Learning yourself, Islam. Once you begin to fully look in the mirror and understand and understand your people and your contribution to the world, that's a hell of a benefit because it changes the way you think. And when you change the way you think, you change the way you act. And when you change the way you act, you change the way things happen. So if people are looking for those other benefits of not paying tickets and not paying a mortgage and all of this other stuff, hey man, then I can't help you. But if you want to learn about who you are, you want to learn about who your people are, you want to learn about Prophet Noble Drew Ali and what his contribution to civilization was, then I can give you that benefit.
Speak about that contribution that Noble Drew Ali brought to everything going on right now.
1913, with the old Canaanite temple. People think it started there, right? But you even got some awakened Moors who think it started there, but they don't know about the Prophet going into barbershops. and going into these other places and spreading the information that he got from the Arabs in Egypt. They wasn't, I can't say they wasn't privy to the information because it's there, because I got it and you got it, right? But the contribution from the prophet is second to none. Marcus Garvey came through with UNIA and united a few 100,000 people, gave them a sense of pride in who they were. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came behind and gave them a sense of pride in nationality, and knowing that you didn't all just get on a ship and come over here. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came through and said, listen, you are. Saying that you are is a whole lot more than just being. You are Moors. You are indigenous to this land. Your ancestors gave this land, gave everything that the European has to him. The knowledge that he has, the information that he has, everything. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came through and gave you the Circle 7 Holy Quran. And people make the mistake of thinking that he wrote it, but it was divinely prepared by Prophet Noble Drew Ali from different works. But all of this stuff to enlighten you and to enrich you as a people and to bring you back to the constitutional fold of government, to bring you back to national principles, to bring you back to a level of divinity that you should be operating on.
Now, let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Now, if Noble Drew Ali is so important, how come there's no documentation of him like there is, of Marcus Garvey and W.E. Du Bois and all these people who were around the same time that Noble Drew Ali was around? It seems that every time we talk to Moors about Noble Drew Ali, they never have anything to show where they're getting this information from that they say is facts or whatever.
It's simple. I always tell people, anytime you want to get to the root of a problem, anytime you want to get an understanding of a problem, you got to go to the root of a problem. So let's go back to Noble Drew Ali. As you said, there was Marcus Garvey, there was W.E.B. Du Bois, there was Booker T. Washington, there was Prophet Noble Drew Ali, all at the same time, right? So we know about Booker T. We know about up from slavery. We know about that. He broke out of slavery and started Tuskegee Institute, and we got all of that. W.E.B. Du Bois, whatever they want to say he did. Marcus Garvey, he united all of these people, but he united black people. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came through to tell you that you're not black, that you're not Negro, that you're not colored, that you have a nationality. Now, your nationality was stripped from you in 1774 in Philadelphia, taken from you, and you were given these slave names of Negro, colored, and black. Now you got somebody who's coming along who's uncovering all of this ancient history that's been covered up. It's almost like going back into Alexandria, what they call Alexandria, in ancient Kemet, and the book burnings, and what they call the, so to speak, quote-unquote, whitewashing of history. They just whitewashed Prophet Noble Drew Ali right on out. You can go back and you can get all this archived information from people who was around the Prophet. You can get all this archived information that the Prophet left. But if you don't go looking for it, if you don't go searching for it, you won't find it. And the reason for that is this. If you do find it, and if they do teach us about Drew Ali in school, then we start asking questions. And when you start asking questions, then somebody's got to answer them. And if they start answering the questions that we're asking, then they lose. And the European, the one thing the Albion is not about is losing. The Albion will take his own life before he lets you win. He'll take you, him, his children, and everybody else out of here before he lets you win. So for them to teach you about Prophet Noble Drew Ali, to tell you that this man came back to make you aware that you have a nationality, that you are, that's unacceptable.
Now, do you have any, because the way that you describe the Albion's nature, that they ain't losing, right? It would seem to somebody unconscious that, well, if we're going to be defiant against him being Moors and challenging them when they're the government and whatever like that, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have any personal experiences that you can talk about that prove they know what Moors mean when they say we're not black, or you have no jurisdiction, or I don't need a license, or, you know, these things that Moors say that float around that people say is, you know, radical behavior. You know what I mean?
Let's go back. I want to say, let's say 6 to 8 weeks. Really recent for people to grab a hold of this. I was waiting for a brother by the name of Moorish Bey. And I'll say his name on this video because me and him have already discussed this on camera. And it's already on YouTube and it's already all over the place. So I'll say his appellation is Moorish Bey. He makes some drinks. His company is called Goddess Nectars, and he makes healing drinks. So he was bringing me some drinks, and I'm wondering where he is. So I'm calling him, but he's not picking up the phone. So I finally got him, and he said real quick, "Yo, bro, I just got pulled over by the cops." And I said, "For what?" And he said, "They said I didn't have on no lights." I said, "All right, so what they saying?" He said, "They said they got to take the car." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because I don't have a driver's license." So I said, "Where's the cop at?" He said, "Back in his car." I said, "All right, I'm going to wait on the phone and see what he says." So he comes back, and he says, "Yeah, all right, we got to take the car." So I asked him, "Where are you?" He said, "I'm at Shelton and Boyer, streets in Philly." So I go down there, you know, put my fez on, we go down there, and I get out the car. So I walk over to where he is, and the cop that pulled him over is making all this noise. Hey, don't go over to that car. So I asked him simply, I said, "Yo, is this a crime scene?" And he said, "No." I said, "All right, then be cool. I know him. I want to talk to this dude." So when I got closer to the car, he started making more noise. "Yo, get away from that car." I asked him again, "Is it a crime scene?" He said, "No." I said, "All right, then. I know him." I said, "Better yet, I'm going to call your supervisor." So I got on the horn. I said, "Listen, I'm at Shelton and Boyer." I said, "A friend of mine just got pulled over by a couple of your agents." I said, "We're not feeling safe. I need a supervisor ASAP." Man showed up in less than 5 minutes. So he pulled up, he talked to his cop, see whatever the situation was. So then he pulled up and parked in front of McCool's vehicle. He got out and he walked back to where we were. So I told McCool to stay in the car. So I approached him, man. I said, "Listen, the agents pulled my man over." I said, "They're talking about taking the vehicle." I said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, this man doesn't have a driver's license." I said, "He doesn't need a driver's license." I said, "We're Aboriginal, Indigenous, Al-Moroccans." I said, "We Moors." I said, "This is our inherited land." I said, "Furthermore, I'm sure that you know we don't need driver's licenses to travel." Now, this dude got all his stripes and all his bars and everything, and stuff, right? His white shirt. So you know what he said? "I'm not in opposition to that." He said, "My issue is this guy doesn't have any identification to say who he is." He said, "He can be anybody." I said, "I understand that." I said, "But I'm here vouching for him." I said, "I know who he is." I said, "Furthermore," I said, "he doesn't need ID. He doesn't need to walk around with anything to say who he is. He just is." I said, "Now, just to be clear," I said, "I want you to be fully aware." And I'm talking to him just like I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. No need for me to be loud. No need for me to be cursing, to be irate or anything. I'm talking to him just like this. I want you to be fully aware that I'm aware of the de jure law, the supreme law of the land, the Constitution. And I'm also aware of the de facto, the codes, the ordinances, the statutes, and the policies that you have to follow. I said, now, what they're operating under right now is called livestock. I said, livestock says you have to have 3 things: a driver's license, registration, and insurance. I said, if 2 of the 3 are not present, then they tow the vehicle. I said, this vehicle is insured and registered, so why are you taking it? And he sat there for a second and he was like, Because now he understands that he ain't dealing with a dummy.
Not dealing with.
Right? So, and like I said,
N-word.
I'm right. He ain't dealing with a nigga. Right? Let's say it. So So we get to the point to where he says, all right, let me go talk to this guy. So he goes back and he talks to the cop that pulled him over. So then he comes back up to us and he said, whose vehicle is this? I said, that's his lady's vehicle. He was like, it's not his? I said, no, it's his lady's vehicle. Well, where is she? I said, about 10 minutes away. He said, they already called the tow truck. He said, if you can get her here before the tow truck pulls up, y'all can just go. I said, all right, cool. I went to get in my car to go get her, and the tow truck is coming down the street, so I'm like, shit. So I jump back out, and I'm like, all right, what's the situation? The situation became, now this is a good lesson. This is a good lesson. The situation became this. You got two different corporations that are lying to everybody saying that they work for the same corporation. That corporation being the city of Philadelphia. Mm. You got the Philadelphia Police Department and you got the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Two totally different corporations, right? They both say that they work for Philadelphia, but they don't. They broker with Philadelphia. So they don't have, they got what's called a compact agreement where we have the same interests, so we'll help you out, right? But now, where the cop is saying you can take the vehicle and go, the parking authority is like, no, wait.
No, hold on a second. You can't do that. The parking authority.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you're messing with our finance. Right. So now, the parking authority supervisor is there and the tow truck is there. So the sergeant or the captain or whatever his rank was like, shit. He was like, the situation is this. He was like, you can go get the vehicle tonight. He was like, and you shouldn't have to pay. And I'm like, you know it don't work that way. They towing this vehicle, so they're going to want some kind of finance for towing this vehicle. So long story short, they took the vehicle. That cop, that white shirt, already knew what the situation was. He gave us, both cops that pulled him over, both their names, both their badge numbers. He gave me his information, his business card, but he didn't give me any surety bond information. He played dumb on that part, right? But the thing is, I didn't have to make a fuss about it. He already knew, right? So he said to me, actually, he said to me that night, you know, we deal with this situation all the time with people saying that they're Moors. So he said, you know, we taking people's cars who don't have license plates. We taking people's cars who don't have ID. And he said that the biggest issue that they had is people not having identification. So long story short, they got the vehicle back the next morning. But while they were in the tribunal that they called the Philadelphia Traffic Court, another total different corporation, my man McCoo went in there. I talked to him before he went in. And he admitted, he said, yo, he said, I was paranoid, I was nervous. I talked to him before he went in, yo, say this, say this, say that. He went in there and grounded that lady up. She told him to get the hell out the court and don't ever come back. So the sheriff actually followed him out when he went outside. Now, fast forward about a month or so, he went back to the tribunal because they had issued him 2 tickets. He went back to the tribunal, got the tickets tossed. But the thing was this. In fact, if I pull up on my cell phone, I'll show it to you later. The assistant district attorney that was there to prosecute him over those tickets said to him, we don't necessarily want to fight with y'all. We need y'all to be more organized. You got more saying this, you got more saying that, you got some coming from here and some coming from there. We don't want to fight with y'all. We need y'all to be more organized. Right? And you know that's a problem with us. Unity. Right? Because everybody want to do their own thing. Now, I sat there and I talked to that sergeant. And I talked him down off of towing that vehicle. And he was going to let everything go. As long as that lady came out and got her car. The problem was the other corporation showed up. But the point that I'm making that I want everybody to understand is I did precisely what the prophet said. Talk in a sensible tone, you'll get a favorable response. Right. And that's what happened. And even when my man went to court, well, to the tribunal, the assistant district attorney said to him, who's your sheik? So he told him me. He said, SetenRa Bey. He said, take this and tell SetenRa Bey to call me. I haven't called him yet. I spoke to Taj about it. I spoke to a couple other elders about it, right? Because I won't go talk to him by myself. Right. But the point is, they know. The problem is, we don't. And we got so many people who declare their nationality and they just run wild. Start doing all kind of crazy shit and not thinking.
But that was the next question that I was going to ask. When when the prosecutor said, yeah, these Moors and these Moors and these Moors, right? What, in your opinion, what perspective is that coming from? That she's not seeing, or he's not seeing Moors as one strip of you know what I mean, paint. They got, you know, different colors, and some parts are faded and some parts are torn off, and you know what I mean, there's not a consistent stream of when they engage Moors, that okay, it's the same thing, same way that they're being engaged, same, you know what I mean?
You know what? You know why? Because it's not the same. It's not one simple stream, right? So let's look at the Nile River, right? The Nile River flows, and then it breaks off into two other rivers, right? So you got that main body, Moorish science. Then you got people who put their feet in that water, that Nile River, and they get a little taste of that Nile River, and they like, yo, this is cool, and then they want to go do their own thing.
Yeah.
They don't want to come. They don't want to come to class. They don't want to go to temple. They don't want to study. They want to do their own thing. They want to sit there and they want to read whatever they read and not really have a full comprehension of it. And then they want to go do their own thing. So then when they go in front of these tribunals, they saying something that's like so far out of the way that they can tell like this dude hadn't been reading. And then they got somebody who come in there who can enunciate everything that he needs to or she needs to, and say whatever it is, or even put down the proper paperwork that they need to not even have to come to the tribunal in the first place. And then they got people who send paperwork and look like a third grader did it.
Yeah. So
they can see that everybody's not on the same page, right? So that's when they say we need y'all to be more organized. If people will come to Canaanland Temple and learn the proper way to do things, then everybody in Canaanland will be operating on the same wavelength.
Right.
If everybody in Philly would actually just sit down, whether it was the Temple, whether it was the York House class, whether it was Taj 3 Bey's class, and get a complete, full understanding of what's going on out here, then they wouldn't have that perspective.
Right.
Because the one thing that we say is we know law because we are law. We all law. So how you going to say you all law and you are law and you can't even enunciate it when you need to? They got something that's good, they got something that's terrible. So then you get the guy that says, we just want y'all to be organized. We ain't really trying to fight with y'all.
Right.
We just want y'all to be organized.
Now, speaking about we want y'all to be organized, are they speaking to us from the perspective of all Moors across the board, or are they telling you personally that you Moors, that we engage, that we dismiss stuff because you do stuff right, you need to be organized? Like, who are they addressing when they're saying
they talking to us? So the black guy that's walking down the street, they ain't talking to him.
Right.
Right? Until I catch up with him and I say, yo, bro, you ain't black. You Moorish American.
Yeah.
Your ancestry in this land go back how many years? When I show him a picture of an Olmec, and I say that it's now, what they say is 2016, this picture goes back to 15 to 1700 DC. So BCE, so now you're talking 4,000 years.
Yeah.
Your feast, this land. So now they got to talk to him too, but initially they wasn't talking to him because they know that, you know, we still got him. But y'all who understand, when in reality, it's all of us. We all under the same umbrella, they just don't know. But they only talking to the people who are conscious of who they are.
Right.
They ain't talking to the unconscious. They gonna keep on screwing them. They want them to keep coming to traffic court so they can keep raping them for finance and for fiat and holding them up from getting jobs and not being able to travel and all of that nonsense.
No, using the court to hold people up from getting jobs and things like that. Again, are there any personal experiences of Moors dealing with the court and not having to deal with, you know, the whole hold up? You know what I mean? Like you know, they put something off. Come back next month. Come back in a year from now or whatever, right? Are those things just what they do? Are they trying to block certain Moors from certain stuff, or Moors wrong and they're actually right in exercising their stuff when they stop Moors from, you know.
You get some Moors who are swift with a pen, right, and can stop them in their tracks. And let's just say a Moor still has a driver's license, a corporate driver's license, right? He ain't driving tractor trailer, he ain't driving bus, he ain't driving limo. So in reality, he doesn't need the driver's license, but he still has it. So let's just say he gets pulled over, and they want to say, okay, you ran that stop sign right there. So running a stop sign is what they call a moving violation. And if you get a moving violation, I think it's 3 points that they'll assess to your driver's license, right? They got a point system. You get like 10 points and they suspend your driver's license. So let's say the Moor is conscious and he fully understands that that's not law. That's not law, and that you really don't have the authority to tell me how to move and when to move and where to move. So I'm going to put this affidavit together and I'm going to send you these writs and I'm going to stop you in your tracks. Now, a lot of times what will happen is this. You send them something and it's proper, and the only thing they can do is sit there for a minute and say, damn, this shit is tight. They still got one trump card over top of you. Even though it's tight and you got them stopped in their tracks, you can send them default notice, you can send them default judgment, you can do whatever you want to do, right? But they still got one trump card. And that trump card is that they issued you that driver's license. Now, I don't know how it is in Canaanland, but down in that corporation, in order to have certain jobs, you got to have a driver's license. So if you don't, if they suspend it,
then it's considered not.
You don't have it, right? Now you can show the card, but if they run it and they find out you don't have it, so this is one way that they can tie people up, right? Now, when people become aware, this is one of those benefits. This is one of them profits. One of the benefits of the prophet, making you aware of who you are, making you aware of the law. Once you understand the law, then you can combat that, even if it comes to a specific job. I don't have a driver's license because once you put your status on the record, your status changes everything. Yeah. Right. So even in those tribunals and things of that nature, a lot of guys are not putting their status on the record beforehand. Right. Which is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to let our paperwork precede us. They supposed to already have it on the desk laid out if we do go show up. Right. So once your status is on the record, you should be able to stop them in their tracks.
No, speak about what you just said. Have the paperwork laid out, but if you do show up, are there instances where Moors have court and don't show up, and it's the same thing as if they would have went, like it getting dismissed and whatever, or?
Most times if Moors don't show up, they get bench warrants. But that's because they didn't do what they needed to do as far as the paperwork. The paperwork is a process. Some people will just send in an affidavit. They'll send in a court warrant requesting jurisdiction of the so-called court, the magistrate, or whoever, right? But then they won't follow it up. They won't follow it up because you give them an allotted amount of days to respond. Right, and they have to respond by law. They have to respond. It's not an motion.
What's the follow up to if I send something to somebody, you need to stop bothering me or whatever, and they don't reply in how much ever time I allotted? What's supposed to be the next thing?
You send a default notice. Now, when you send a default notice, you send the notice of default, and you send a copy of the original affidavit that you sent. Right. You give them an allotted amount of days, usually 5 or 7 is what I'll give them, because you already got the first affidavit. So there's no need for me to give you 20, 30, 50 days.
Right.
You send them a second default notice and a third. The third notice is a default judgment. Right? Now, the problem that a lot of people run into is they're not enforcing the law. We're supposed to enforce the Constitution. Right? So if there is a magistrate who has you hemmed up, you should have already went down to the county recorder and asked for their oath of office, right? Their surety bond information. The oath of office is supposed to be filed within 30 days of their taking whatever position it is that they have. And
for that case that you're sending your paperwork in for.
Whoever's presiding, whether it's the magistrate, if it's a district attorney, whoever it is, you go, anybody that has a hand in what's going on, you go get their information. Go get their oath of office, because that oath of office says that they are sworn to uphold the Constitution. Now, if you took an oath to uphold the Constitution and you didn't, then that's a breach. And that's called treason. And that's punishable by imprisonment, in the most severe case, death. Now, you don't necessarily want to put nobody to death, but the same people who got intentions on putting you away, on sending you to jail, or taking whatever unalienable rights that you have, you shouldn't care at all about having them put away for committing treason. But the problem is we're not taking it that far. Some people writing one affidavit and they leaving it there. You have to send these people you have to send them the proper documentation to stop them in their tracks. Simple stuff like jury duty, right? Do they do that? Jury duty? All right, so they say if you're not going to come to jury duty, they're going to put a warrant out for your arrest. And you're going to be locked up, right? So a year ago, they sent my wife a notice for jury duty. So I put together a writ. So they sent something else. So I followed that up. Now, they're supposed to put out a warrant for her arrest because she ain't come, right? We traveled to Mexico and we traveled here to Canaanland. Not this trip, a previous trip, right? She ain't on a warrant. Yeah. You know, as soon as you go across the state line, what they call the border.
They tell you there's a warrant.
Yeah, they got a warrant for you. Yeah. Nothing, right? So, no problem. There was another brother come to the class at the York House. Yeah, they've got a warrant for your arrest. We're going to put you away the whole nine. So he said, all right, you know what? I'm going to go down there. He went down there. The magistrate had got so frustrated and so aggravated with him because he couldn't get him to stumble and trip and fall. Everything the magistrate said to him, he shot back, because he knows what he's supposed to be saying. Mm-hmm. He said, you get out of my courtroom and I'm not dealing with you Moors anymore. You tell the Moors they won and get out. Now, that's not what the newspaper said. Yeah. But the newspaper did have a write-up of my man being in there.
Oh, right? For real?
Now, this is the kick-ass part. Either you pay whatever premium they set for you to pay, or you went to jail. Mm-hmm. He ain't go to jail and he ain't pay. Right. It said it right in the paper. So then you tell me. Because he knew who he was. He knew what principles to stand on. They couldn't push him off his square. Right. Now, they sent my wife another summons for jury duty. Right? So she said, you know what? I'm going to go down there. So she went down there. And she said, all right, I'm Moorish American. This ain't, blah, blah, blah. We ain't got time for this shit. Said the dude picked up the phone and said, I got somebody down here say you Moorish. Huh? Look, we ain't going to bother you no more. They sent her a card in the mail that said, you've been dismissed. What they say, you won't be bothered again?
From jury duty.
Disqualified from jury duty.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. Disqualified. See, the thing is, they know. Yeah. It's the test to see if you know.
Do you know?
And when they see that you don't, they're going to take advantage of it. It's like a child. Like if you tell a child to stop, they stop. And then they go back over there, stop. But if you never, they ain't going to keep on going. Yeah. It's time for us to start popping their hands. Right. Some of them, it ain't going to be easy with some of them. Yeah. But that's the whole thing where my man said, we want y'all to be organized. We want y'all to be unified. For anybody who's seen the movie Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, think about the scene when the brother had been beaten severely by the police. And Il Haj went to the police station and he said, look, I need to see this brother. And he said, man, listen, I ain't trying to hear what you're saying. He said, look, bro, I suggest you take a look out that window. He went and opened the shade and looked outside and all them brothers looked up. Unity. Organization. At that point, what they do, they took him right in the back and let him see that brother.
Okay, now, okay. So, now they're going to say, well, see, they weren't Moors, and they were unified. What's the difference, or is there a difference between what you're talking about in the movie and what Moors are trying to relay to our people about proclaiming their nationality in order to galvanize the unity.
It's a big difference. When you talk about the Nation of Islam, I don't know how many members the Nation of Islam had at its height, but I know it was a lot. The difference is they were still Negro, colored, and black. And they wasn't recognized by the other nations of the world. Now, when you reach out to these other nations, we ain't even got to go to the other nations. We'll go to the United Nations. When you reach out to the United Nations as a Negro, colored, and black, they're not going to hear what you got to say. Right? But when a nation shows up and say, we got a problem, there's a discrepancy, they'll handle it. Ralph Bunche. Everybody knows Ralph Bunche, if you know your history. He went up to the United Nations and he went up as a Negro. They turned him away. What's the young brother's name that got murdered in St. Louis? Year before last. What's the brother's name?
So much of them.
What's his name?
There's
so many of them.
But
the brother who
the main one that kicked off the Baltimore.
Not that. See, I'm going to St. Louis for a specific reason.
Neighborhood watch guy.
No, that was Florida. The one who got shot by the cop, the brother that was on his knees with his hands up, the big guy.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, his family went to the United Nations, and they went to ask for help, and they got turned away. And everybody said the United Nations. Mike Brown. They said the United Nations don't care about black people because the United Nations don't got time for colors. They know black people don't exist.
Now let's okay. So we're talking about these people that don't want to have a nationality went to the UN, right? Now and then they came back and said that the United Nations doesn't care about black people. Okay. Elaborate more on that concept that the UN has.
Okay.
About not honoring these people, these specific people.
So since you said specific, let's be specific. It's called the United Nations, right? So that means there are a conglomerate of nations who have come together and formed whatever agreement that they agreed upon to deal with national principles, to deal with national issues. That's what a nation is. A nation is a state of people, common interests, common ideals, common goals, common religions, whatever. A state, a nation, same thing, right? Now, the United Nations itself deals with national issues. There is no nation called black. There is no nationality called black. So when you go to the United Nations and you submit anything and you say that, we're fighting for black people's rights, we're fighting for black power, they're not going to address that. That's almost like going to a pizza store and asking for a donut. You're not going to get it. They're not going to address it. They say, listen, we make pizza. We don't make donuts. We don't got time for that. So when you got black people going somewhere, and the sad reality of it is this, that's what we were taught. And with our people, it's an emotional tie. It's nothing more than emotions, because people get angry when you tell them that they're not black. So that's emotional. Anger is an emotion. So when you go to the United Nations and you go talking about black issues and Black Lives Matter, they're not going to address it. Now, the next brother who got murdered, I'm not sure if it was in St. Louis or not, or Chicago, what's his name, Mansour?
Yeah.
Mansour Bey?
Bey, yeah.
Mansour Bey.
Yeah.
You see how they handled that situation?
Right.
The police, somebody else stepped in. I'm not sure if it was the state's attorney or somebody else. Somebody else stepped in and handled that. That situation didn't get handled like the rest of them. Right? Now, had his family gone to the United Nations, they couldn't have got hurt. They could have got hurt. Because they're coming from national principles. They're coming from a nation. Whether people want to say, we can't all be Moors, we're not all Moors, we all black. Because we look the same. Now, I was born in a place they call Philadelphia. You was born in Trinidad and Tobago.
I was born here, actually.
You was born here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, see. Now, look, so let's just say you was born in Tobago.
Yeah.
Right? and me and you walking down the street, and even though you got locks all the way down to your waist, they ain't going to say, that's a dude from Tobago, and that's a black dude.
Yeah.
They're going to say, that's two black dudes.
Right.
Right? But people from the islands don't necessarily accept being called black.
Being called black.
But why? We the same. And in the eyes of everybody else, we the same.
Yeah.
Right? So, why is it that everybody can accept being called black? Or being called Negro or African American, but you can't accept being called who you are, when everybody in the civilized world know who you are except you.
You know, now this from international community, it seems that this anomaly of people being colors, adjectives, continents, or whatever is constricted to North American so-called dark-skinned people. Is that the same, like with your, because you know you say that you travel and stuff like that, is it the same concept that when you go other places that, you know, you present yourself that you're more to them and they're like, oh wow, I can't believe that you're not black or whatever?
I can tell you this, since I have awakened and learned about my Moorish nationality, I've been to only Mexico and Canaanland. But prior to, I have been to Jamaica a few times, but more than anywhere, I've been to Europe 4 times. So I done been all over Germany, and I ran around France a couple times. I never got called black, not one time. My family that was in Germany that I was visiting all the time, they were there for a total of 10 years, and they'll tell you, they never not once got called black. Germans, Italians, Spaniards, French, Dutch, whatever, they will not call themselves white. They tell you what they are. No, I'm Spaniard. No, I'm Dutch. No, I'm German. But when it comes to us, what they do is they'll wait till they hear you talk. And when they hear your dialect, they say, oh, you're American. Or if you got an accent, then they assume that you're from the continent of Africa, because there's a lot of people there from the continent, right? But never once in all them years did I get called black. Not once.
Now, it was them not calling them black, was there something else that people were called? Like if they, the ones that, like your family that lived in Europe or whatever,
they would call them Americans.
That's what they recognize them.
They would call them Americans. Now, the funny thing about that, the ironic thing about that is, even though over there they will be recognized as Moors faster than anywhere else because of the presence of the Moors over there, right? They still called them Americans, and even still, calling them Americans, they still wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Because we are the original indigenous Americans, right? But our people still wouldn't pick up on that. They still won't pick up on the fact that they're saying you're American, because they associate America with everybody else.
Yeah.
With Europeans and everybody else. But them same Europeans that call themselves, they say, I'm a red-blooded American. They got a tattoo on their arm with the Italian flag.
Yeah.
Or a little Irish dude fighting to say they're Irish.
Yeah.
Right? So they know their ancestry.
Right.
Whereas we don't know ours, and you got people who want to argue about how can we all be Moors. So I like that question. And the way I answer that question is like this. Let's go back into ancient history, right? Did you go to church when you were young? Yeah, I went to church. Not you, I'm just, this conversation's had, right? Yeah, I went to church. So you went to Sunday school and all that? Right. So you know about the Moabites and the Hittites and the Canaanites and the Amorites and all of these other ites. You know about them. Yeah, we read about them. Okay. So you know that the Moabite mother had many children, right? In fact, I did this in class at the York House. I took an elder, Miss Janet, stood up in front of the class. So I said, I'm her child. You're her child. She's her child. He's her child. And she's the Moabite mother, right? I'm Canaanite. You're Hittite. She's Amorite. And that one is, you know what I'm saying? So what happens is her children, they do what? They disperse. Like, me and my brother done lived in so many different places, right? But does that take away from him being my brother?
Right.
Does it mean that because his mother married and now her last name is Amorite and my last name is Hittite, does that mean that we still didn't come from the same mother?
Right.
Does that mean that we still ain't Moabites? We still, yo, listen, we all came from the same mother. Now, it don't matter if some went to West Africa. It don't matter if some came across the top of Europe and across Greenland and settled in this land called Canaanland.
Yeah.
Right? You know it was called Canaanland because they were singing about it in the 1800s.
Right.
Down called Canaanland.
Right.
Does that take away from the fact that we all came from the same Moabite mother? Does it make a difference that some of us was on that side or some of us was on this side? No, we still are the same. We still Moabite. We still Moors. Now, for people who don't have that understanding or who don't even accept that understanding, then it's an argument.
Right.
But don't argue with me. Go do the research.
Yeah. Where does the Albion fit in with regard to status correction? Because, like you're saying, the students have reference points. So we have reference point of King Alfred Plan to know that it ain't just Asiatics that they're trying to, you know what I mean, get rid of. Everybody's on the chopping block. So European comes to their senses that, damn, I'm on the chopping block. Right? And then they see the activity of, you know, what Moors are doing. Is it something that Moors should be moving towards, getting them to either know the information or bringing them into the family again, based on them realizing that, you know, they're pretty much outcasts?
So when it comes to the Albion, unfortunately, the Albion's in the same predicament we're in, just like you said, right? Because his name is in all capital letters on his driver's license. And at the same time, he's being called white.
Yeah.
He ain't white.
Right.
Right? He ain't white. So if the Albion did a status correction, right, they can't be nationalized and they can't be Moors. But what they can be is Moor subjects. If they pledge allegiance to the Al-Moroccan nation.
Now is because people are gonna say, well, Noble Ali said don't amalgamate with the European nations. Is them being clothed with citizenship as a subject and them being made European Moors the same thing?
Them being clothed with citizenship, see, they can't be, you can never be a European Moor. That's like, well, speaking in modern terms, we can't be Moorish Germans. Now, if you're going back in ancient history, then you know that we were there first, right? But talking in modern language, we can't be Moorish Germans, but we can become German citizens. Like if me and you up and move to Germany, we could ask for German citizenship.
Right.
That means that we'll be naturalized.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you got to give up your nationality to be naturalized. So the same thing can happen with them. Even though they already don't have nationality, because they were naturalized as well at birth when they got birth certificates, they can still be naturalized and become Moorish subjects. They can't have, so a subject doesn't have all of the rights that a natural born citizen would have. It just would never work that way.
So is that what makes it acceptable to Moors to quote unquote bring the European in? Because when he's brought in, we know that it's not the same exercising that we do that he's going to be doing. Like it's not the full scope of exercising as an heir.
It wouldn't. They could never exercise as heir, right? They could go to court and they could protest the same way we do. In fact, the same way they do now when they're sovereign citizen groups, right? The difference with the sovereign citizen movement and them being more subjects is that they're just out doing what they're doing.
Right. They're not claiming an allegiance to anything or whatever. They're just...
And that they're still corporate citizens.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if they claimed allegiance to Al Morocco, if they claimed Moorish allegiance, then they could get that status corrected. And they wouldn't be recognized no longer as white people. Right? Mm-hmm. They would be recognized from whatever ancestry they had, but as Moorish subjects. The same way we would be recognized as Moors, but German citizens. We still are who we are, but we're not looked upon as corporations any longer. Now, the only problem is this: whenever you let the Albion in, you give him an inch, he won't take a foot. Mm. Like I know they talk about greed and things like that with our people, but he has a hell of a track record. When you let him in, I mean, you figure, look at now, we let him in with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and look at the situation we're in now. So you got to be cautious and you got to be careful. When the prophet said don't amalgamate with the Albion, you can look at it one or two ways. You can say that the amalgamation he was talking about was having children with them, or bringing them into the movement. You remember when Malcolm came back from Mecca, he said that Europeans can help in our fight, but you can't join my organization.
Right.
Right? That's because he already knows when you let them in, they want to take over.
Now is because we're having this discussion today. If we're the government, right? If we're the legitimate political authority, political jurisdiction in the Americas, and foreigners are in this jurisdiction, does them being naturalized by us is that relative to them joining organization in the sense of what El Haj was talking about with the because if they're foreigners that are in adversity because they're under the same corporate whatever that we're under, that we're trying to be free from, and we know how to free ourselves from it. As a matter of fact, we're the ones with the authority to free, then, wouldn't it bring karmic debt for us to enslave them again?
Yeah, but we wouldn't be enslaving them. Just because they become subjects don't mean they become slaves. So let's look at the word subject. In fact, let me grab this Black's Law for a second. Let's look at the word subject. Right? So we're not talking about enslaving anybody. Let's look at the word subject. All right, subject from the Black's Law, 4th edition. Constitutional law. One that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws. Right? So that's not the same thing as a slave. In fact, I don't know if slave is in there, I'm gonna look. So when you talk about one who owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws, you're just simply talking about, like you said earlier, a foreigner who becomes a citizen of a new nation. When you become a citizen of a new nation, you are governed by that nation's laws. You will be governed by whoever it is that is calling the shots. So you technically wouldn't be a slave because we ain't driving them from morning till night. We ain't making them work from KC to KC for no wages, right? They just become a part of our society, and they have to understand that we have these certain rules and regulations, and that's what you have to follow. So again, from constitutional law, a subject, one that owes allegiance to a sovereign and is governed by his laws. That sovereign will be us, the Al-Moroccan, the Moorish American. So when a European comes in, I'm going to see if slave is in here. I'm not sure if it is. I never looked it up. There's a whole lot of slave stuff in here. Slave. Now how about that? A person who is wholly subject to the will of another. One who has no freedom of action but whose person and services are wholly under the control of another. So that's a totally different definition. So as we enslaved them before, we wouldn't be enslaving them now, making them more subjects, right? They would just be becoming a part of our common unity, a part of our community, because they had enough of having their neck, having somebody else's foot on their neck.
Right.
Now,
no, that's what we're saying. The bringing them from that community, which is corporate jurisdiction, into our community, does bringing them into our community play hand in hand with them being given too much and taken over again like they did in the past? Or,
I think it will.
Yeah.
I think it will. Now, I'll say this. The bad part is that all of them ain't bad, but the majority of them are. Like, you might come into your life across a couple guys and be like, yo, that was an alright dude.
Yeah.
Alright dude. And one alright dude. Right? But then all we got to do is just think about the food. Right? Look at what's going on with our food. It ain't Asiatics in them labs.
Right.
Right? So that's the way they think. They always want to take over. They always want to be in control. So if you do let him in, you got to be wary of that.
Right.
And the one thing about him is he is willing to kill for what he wants.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to be wary. So like you said a second ago, would we be putting ourselves back in another karmic debt? We might. We put ourselves in karmic debt in the first place. We put ourselves in karmic. When it was time for the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, there were plenty of Moors who was telling the Sultan, no, don't trust him. No, don't do it. And now look at the situation we're in. Right, where he was saying,
okay, so let's play out not doing the treaty.
The Treaty of Peace and Friendship?
Yeah. So by not playing out the treaty now, doesn't that maybe possibly set us up for something even worse than what we're dealing with right now?
I think if I'll be honest, I think if we didn't come to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, I think it would have been war.
Yeah. Right.
Because that's just their nature.
Because that's just what
they do.
Would have been, right.
That's their nature, war.
Right.
Now, you're right, it could have been worse. The problem came with all the infighting. With us fighting each other. When you hear about all these Yamasee wars and the Iroquois and the Lenape, when you hear about all of our ancestors fighting all these wars, what did the European do? He sat back and he was like, Cujo just went down. Let's go, let's move in. And slowly but surely they took our shit.
Yeah.
So was that the karmic debt from the Yaqub experiment? From us even coming
starting in the first place.
Yeah. So is that the karmic debt?
Karmic debt that we're just going to be going through karmic debt for a little bit because of all the stuff that we did do. Right.
Could be. Now I'll tell you what I got from one of my teachers. So master teacher Abdul Iltali Mosi Bey told me this. I understand their plight and I understand what they're going through. He said, but my issue is anybody that's called Negro, colored, and black. He said, I don't care about nobody else.
Yeah.
Because we're the ones that's suffering the most.
Right.
Even though the Albion is suffering, he ain't suffering like us.
Right.
Go look at his house. Go look at his car. You got the same job he got.
Yeah.
Well, why he live over there? And you live over here. Why he driving this $50,000 car and you riding a bike?
Right.
Right. So even though he's in the same situation, his plight ain't my plight. Right. So I ain't in so much of a rush to even make them more subjects.
Yeah.
If they want to know about nationality and constitutional, I'll talk.
Information's there.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Yeah.
But I ain't trying to have a whole bunch of them sitting in the audience when I'm teaching.
Yeah.
If they come, then by all means.
Yeah.
But I ain't just going to, go out and start recruiting them.
Right. Yeah.
We got too many of our people.
Yeah. Not even on the level of recruit, just them gravitating to the info.
If they gravitate and they come,
them gravitating.
I'm gonna give it to them.
Yeah,
if they there and they, because you never know, they might take it to some people that look like me and you, that they know. Right. They say, yo, you need to go listen to Cujo.
Well, that's a few Europeans. That's the angle that they're coming into this part of the information in. That, damn, like, you guys don't know that you guys don't know that Philadelphia and whatever, you guys don't know that, and they're putting it out on that level. They're of the perspective that, well, you know, if I'm a foreigner and I have to be naturalized, then why not be naturalized through the Moors opposed to somebody else that might be a corporate whatever.
Now, excuse me, let me get some more right quick. I get it. The situation with that, you ain't got to stop.
Oh.
The situation with that is this. This is where that unity, right, and all of that other stuff comes into play. Because once we can get on the same page with each other, once we can start thinking alike, how about we get a police force, right? How come we don't got a Moorish militia?
Yeah.
Now, I was told by one of the elders not to say this on camera again, but I have a choice right now. Why is there not a Moorish militia? Right? The Constitution say that there's a need for a well-regulated militia. The Constitution was given to them by us. So, if they did come in and we naturalized them and they got out of control, we got people to straighten them out.
Right.
I ain't saying to chop their heads off.
And they would know that there's people to straighten them out.
See? That's the unity.
Which
that's
would
the unity.
Disqualify.
That's what that district attorney was saying.
Yeah.
We want y'all to be more organized and unified. Right.
Right.
Now,
because our organization and unity is also going to assist them in fixing this Negro problem that they have to deal with right now by shooting people, strangle people, kidnap them, kill them in their cell or whatever like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if I'm not, like I said, I'm not opposed to them coming.
Yeah.
I'm not going out recruiting them, but if they show up, then we give it to them.
Right.
Because the prophet said that it was what? He said it's universal. He didn't say that it's just for you. He said, I came to you because you need me most. He said, but what I'm teaching is universal. It's for everybody. I came to you because you need me the most. So I go to my people because they need me most. But if anybody comes, I'm not going to turn a deaf ear.
Right.
So if the Albion comes, then we give it to him.
Couple more questions. Drew Ali being a universal prophet and Moors taking Drew Ali as ours, you know, he's the prophet of the Moors. Like, his stuff doesn't apply to everybody else. What's the talk a little bit about the universal message or the idea behind him being a universal prophet?
The information he brought applies to everybody, right? But he said it himself. I came to you Moors because you need me the most. Why did we need him the most? Because if we went to Russia, the Russian knows he's Russian. Whether he's being molested by their government or not, the Russian knows he's a Russian. If we go to Japan, the Japanese man knows he's Japanese. Although the principles that the prophet brought applies to them as well, they already know who they are. We didn't. We forgot. Right? So he came to us and said, here, I'm bringing you this information because you need it the most. So naturally, we're going to claim him as ours. Right. Because he said, I came to you because you need me the most. Now, the biggest reason why we're going to claim him is because he looks like us.
Right.
Right. So with Jesus being a prophet, so they say, and Muhammad being a prophet, the Bible said what Jesus was supposed to have looked like. But from those images, that guy that's on the wall don't look like me. So I ain't really claiming him as my prophet.
Right.
The prophet Muhammad, they don't know what he looked like. Right? So unless it's doctrine, people not going to claim him as their prophet. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali looked like you and I. He looked like our mothers. He looked like our fathers and our grandfathers. Right? So we claim him as ours. Because he said, I came to you because you need me the most. But the message that he brought applies to everybody. A child in Indonesia can open up the Circle 7 and be like, got a higher self and a lower self.
Yeah.
And they can understand.
Right.
So it's a universal message. It's not just, he didn't just say, this is only for you. Nah, it's for everybody.
Right.
You can claim it for yourself. That's being selfish.
More is just coming into the information. What's let's say 3 things that they should avoid. They say, I was watching somebody say, I need to find out more about this Moorish, what it is to be a Moor or whatever. What are some paths that they shouldn't walk down in that search? Or what should they be looking for on their path to enlightenment through Moorish science?
So the first thing that they should be looking for is self-awareness. Being aware of who you are and what nationality means. And what they should avoid is being in a rush to apply what you heard about. That's earlier when we was talking about the children and boxing and patience.
Yeah.
Right? Like I told you, it was like 6 months before I even sparred. Right? As bad as you want to do it, slow down.
Yeah.
Learn some patience. Y'all got a bunch of tickets. Deal with the tickets. Deal with them. Don't get any more, but if you do, later, because you've studied over these past 6 months, now you know how to address it. Because when people are in a rush, they either need 1 or 2 things to happen. Well, they need something to happen. They need you to do it for them. So when you do it for them, they don't have a comprehension of what you did.
Right.
They don't have a Black's Law, so they don't know what these legal terms and they don't know what this stuff means. So when you're in a rush and you go in front of the magistrate, what happens? You'll go up. Can I call Cujo? No, you can't call. So slow down.
Yeah.
Be patient. Don't be in a rush. Don't listen to everybody, because everybody got their own thoughts. Everybody's perspective is their own. Study. Study, study. The Prophet gave you that 100 years ago. Study. So the first 2 things, patience and study. The third thing that they need to be is diligent. Right? So I'm not saying your whole life has to have your face in the Black's Law, or your whole life has to have your nose in the Circle 7 Holy Quran. But be diligent. It's 20 minutes a day. Is that going to hurt you? Because you say this is what you want.
Right.
Right? When people go to church, they go all in. They be reading the Bible on the bus, on the train. They be having the Bible playing in their ears. So why not have Blog Talk playing in your ears?
Right.
You say this is what you want. You say this is what you need. So then go get it. So patience, studying, and diligence. It to me, it's all like one big ball.
Yeah.
It's all like the same thing, right? But without the patience, you can forget about everything else.
Right.
Because what happens is when you're not patient and you're in a rush and you do it wrong, and you say, the first thing you're going to say is, man, this stuff don't work. Because you wasn't patient, because you didn't take the time to learn what you needed to learn.
Right.
So patience, studying, and diligence. It's like 1, 2, 3, but it's like the same thing, right? The one thing I always tell people when they first come into class and they say, oh man, I got this going on, I got that going on, I tell them to deal with it. Deal with it how you dealing with it now, right? Because if you start dealing with it in a lawful manner, you might lose. You might not get the favorable reply that you're looking for because you don't know what you're talking about. Don't listen to this blog talk and say, oh, he said to authenticate the birth certificate, and then you run go do that not knowing what that means. Or really not knowing what that's going to cause. I hear what a lot of people say.
Yeah.
Let's do this, and they can't touch you, okay? Be patient. That's my biggest message to everybody. Be patient.
And the last thing, what are you doing in Canaanland right now?
So I'm in
Canaanland. You're from Philly.
I'm in Canaanland, all the way from Philly. I'm here for I'm here to participate in my third consecutive Noble Drew Ali Day celebration with the Canaanland Moors. Of course, I'm here with you, Cujo Abo Il. I met Cujo. What's this? I don't know, like 3 years ago, I guess. Three and a half years ago. And I linked with Cujo through Abdullah Iltali Mosi Bey. And I came to Canaanland a couple years ago, to be honest, to party. I came to see what Caravana was all about, this Caribbean Fest. But when I got here, me being me, I called up Cujo. I said, listen, man, I'm in Canaanland, and I can't possibly be here for a period of a few days and not link with the Grand Sheik. not bump elbows and I can't do that. So I did that, man, and the rest is our story.
Straight.
You know what I'm saying? We've been in touch ever since. You know, we Skype together. We build together. You know, we had a conversation last night. I say this, and then we can go wherever. We was talking about different Moors that we know, and I made the statement that me and Cujo don't technically know it. Like, we don't hang out. Like, we don't go. We ain't grow up together.
Yeah.
But the bond is like that.
Right.
Right. And people have tried to come in between and try to, say Cujo's this and Cujo's that. But when I shook the brother's hand the very first time, it was almost like, damn, I met my brother that I never met. And we've been building ever since. So like I said, I'm here I'm here for my third consecutive Noble Drew Ali Day celebration. And I'm sure it won't be the last. And I'll be in Canaanland whenever. I might be here in a couple months. You never know. You know what I'm saying? But I'm here.
And briefly, what you got for Sunday?
For Drew Ali Day?
Yeah. What?
Uh-oh. It's supposed to be a surprise.
Oh, okay. If it's a surprise, then y'all wait for the upload. Upload. Wait for the upload. It's going to be a surprise.
Sure, because it's going to be a surprise for him too.
Yeah.
So
we'll wait for the upload.
I tell it because it's important. I think almost 3 months ago, Cujo called me. He say, "What you gonna do for Drew Ali Day?" So I was like, "Man, I don't know. Come up with something." You know what I'm saying? So he said, "Why don't you do a virtual Philly tour?" So I'm like, "All right." Now, with me, the way I do things is probably much different than other people, right? I formulate everything in my head for weeks, and then I'll put it together, right? When my wife be like, "Yo, ain't you supposed to be?" Yo, I got it.
I got it.
Right? Yo, you come on. It's like 3 hours. Yo, I got it. Right? So, as I'm sitting here and I'm going through all of this Philly stuff, it's almost driving me crazy. And the reason it's driving me crazy is it's so much.
Yeah.
Right? And the time that I got allotted, I got
yeah.
Right? So I'm like, so I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right. So I start putting stuff together, downloading this, downloading that, writing this, checking out this, checking out that. And I'm like, and it's just something there that's like, something's missing or something's not right. So we had a conversation. I'm not sure if it was me and you. It was me and you. So me and my wife had a conversation about something or somebody, and she made mention of people not really adhering to the 5 principles that the Prophet gave us, right? Talk about those benefits again. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And she's like, do they know what that means? And I'm like, I said, I'm going to have to do a class on that, right? Wasn't planning on doing it here, but I was planning on doing it at the York House next week, and I'm like, Then I bumped heads with another brother the other day, and we talked about another brother who verbalizes those principles, but don't live them.
Yeah.
Right? His actions totally say something totally different.
Right.
And then the conversation you and I, Omar, and my wife had last night.
Yeah.
These brothers, so I'm gonna go hard on that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give people the full comprehension of what these principles
what they are. Yeah.
And the Philly tour, the virtual Philly tour, we'll still do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I got to come back.
Straight.
It's just another excuse for me to come back again. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna turn that down, but the thing, man, with I can say it's the ancestors. I can even say it's the spirit of Prophet Noble Ali reaching me at certain times. But it's been more times than not that I actually had a class put together and scrapped it the morning of the class and totally did something different.
For real.
Because something said,
yo,
go that way.
Yeah.
And then I go that way and people be like, yo, I needed that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's the ancestors. I don't know if it's the prophet talking to me.
But it's something.
Or whether it was just my wife bullying me saying, do this. But that's what we're going to go, and we're going to go hard on them 5 principles.
Real.
And we're going to make sure that
the message is clear.
We got,
Straight. Any closeout plugs? You got any stuff going on? I don't know.
I ain't got nothing going on, man. We do the York House classes. You know, you can
Well, what's that like? Just dealing with the being in the trenches, if you will. Being in the trenches.
You ever see those World War II movies? You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes it's tough being in the trenches, man. Me being who I am, right, and not apologizing for who I am and knowing who I am, I'm gonna stay in the trenches, right? Like, I can't get out. You know, and even though it's a detriment to me, I can't get out, right? Because I know how much, I don't want to say people need me, but I know how much people need us. When I say us, I mean people like myself, like you, like Taj, like Abdullah, but even like my wife and other people who know, who give out little information here and there. People need us, right? But they're gonna run to you and they're gonna run to me because they know our names.
Right.
So SetenRa Bey, but being in the trenches sometimes is fun. Sometimes it's exhausting.
For real.
You know, it's a good feeling when somebody say, this brother, he really helped me out.
Right.
He really showed me what it was. You know, that's a great feeling. You know, sometimes it brings me to tears when people say, hey, you did this for me because, I'm just me. I'm just the same old silly guy. That's just, so I don't wake up in the morning like, yo,
I'm gonna wake up somebody today.
And then when it happens and people, now I'll be honest, the very first time that I came here, Drew Ali Day, I was fighting back tears. Right? Because I had already been in front of the class. I had already been in front of people. But I didn't know nobody. Right. And everybody hugging me. Everybody telling me, yo, that was I was fighting back tears, man, because I had never experienced nothing like that. Nah.
It's real.
You know, I mean, boxing, everybody out there calling your name, knock him out. But when you get out, it's just, good fight. But for somebody to actually walk up and shake
tell you that, yo,
and embrace you, it's so humbling that it's ridiculous. So that's why I can't get out the trenches.
Right.
Because I know that's where I'm supposed to be. If I get out the trenches, man, then I feel like I not only let myself down, but I let my people down. I let those babies down that's coming up behind me that need this information. So if I run and hide, and I'll be honest, a couple times I was going to run and hide. But my bodyguard told me not to do it. My bodyguard, I was like, yo, I'm going to push off some of these classes, because I was tired. My bodyguard was like, don't do it. She was like, you need that. You need to be in front of them.
Straight.
So I can't get out the trenches. I'm going to be there. I'm going to fight.
Straight. All right. Give thanks for that. And we're definitely looking forward for what's going on for Drew Ali Day. And we're looking forward to that virtual tour. That, who knows, maybe it might be in Philly, we might you know, we might be able to work something out and get it
However
done out there.
However we do it, it's getting done.
Yeah, however we do it, it'll get done.
However we do it, it's getting done, and soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, appreciate all the work that you're doing too, and you know, we always try to make sure that anybody that we hear, yeah, I'm looking for somewhere to get information. Where you at? Yeah, I'm in Philly. I'm in New Jersey. Well, you know, you can make it to Philly. You should go check the brother SetenRa Bey. So peace and love in Islam. You gotta say Islam to the bodyguard too, because if the bodyguard didn't do a job, we might not have any SetenRa Bey.
Yeah.
So peace and love to all the Moors. And if you want to close out with any shout outs to anybody.
Well, yeah, definitely, man. First and foremost, man, all praise is due to Allah, the Creator, Father of the universe. Definitely my first introduction to nationality and national principles. Grand Sheikh Taj Bey. One love to Master Teacher Abdullah Il-Talib Mosi Bey. One love to Ms. Raim Aleph Il, and one love to Rosmarai Bey. And a special big up and one love to my man Kujo Abu Il for even welcoming me to Canaanland over and over and over, and always offering me a platform to make my voice heard. A lot of people might not know, but I know and I remember that my very first introduction to people outside of Philly was thanks to Kujo. My first Drew Ali Day, he put on YouTube, and that reached people everywhere, and people got to find out who SetenRa Bey was. And yo, I want to thank you for that. And I'm gonna always be here. You know, we're gonna be brothers, and you already know that ain't nobody coming in between that. They already tried. So one love to Kujo Abu Il, and one love to all the Canaanland Moors. Peace and love, Islam.